Okay, happy Tuesday, everyone. It is April 30th. It's almost May. I can't believe it. It's right around the corner. But I am super excited for this call. Chelsea is someone that I have seriously watched all her videos, listened to all her team. She's seriously been a coach that's just like on fire 24/7. She's a superstar diamond. She has just done incredible things with her business. So Chelsea, why don't you start by kind of telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got started with Beachbody, and then like where you're at today with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I just have to shout out Lily and Amanda because I thought I saw Amanda, but I just feel so blessed to have them in my organization. I am so impacted right now in this season of my business by the new leaders that I'm just taking notes from and following every step that they're taking. But I'm just so honored to be here. I feel like I'm officially an old dog in this business, and I'm proud of that because it takes a lot of resilience and a lot of courage and a lot of just learning and adapting to the way that social media changes and Beachbody is growing for us. But I started coaching when I was 21 in 2011, and that was following a 50-pound weight gain in college. And I wanted to lose it fast. I was too afraid to do it at the gym. And so I got my results outside of a challenge group. I already had the DVDs, but I started looking for a like-minded community once I made that change. And that's when I met my husband through my coach, who I found on Twitter. So if anybody's not recruiting on Twitter, that's where I found her. Hashtag TurboJam. And she connected me with my husband, Rob, who had gone through a similar story. He had lost 100 pounds with Insanity, P90X, and Shakeology on his own. And so we decided to join forces, and we got engaged in about 4 months. And we just knew, like, this is our purpose. This is what we're going to build our life on, our family on. And then as we started to grow, our team grew, and we thought it would be awesome if we had 50 people, and then it was 100 people, and then it was 500 people. And now we have an organization of over 15,000 coaches, which I thought was reserved for Janelle Summers and Melanie Mitro and Lindsay Matway. And I remember hearing those numbers and thinking, how is that possible? But like many of you guys probably know, the compound effect takes way. And it is leaders like Amanda and leaders like Lily and Jamie Innes and Amy Rada and Jess Dukes that sincerely I can't take credit for, other than starting first and sharing what's working and creating an infrastructure on my team. I don't have an upline, and I don't have an upline team page. So I think we all kind of have our angle that we came into this business. And so for me, I vowed very early on that I was never going to let one coach in my organization be without a Facebook group, without a Zoom call, without a resource. So I actually didn't hit elite until the year I hit Million Club, because I didn't understand the importance. I would come very close, but my eyes were always focused on volume, on income, and on including every single one of my coaches and challengers. And so now I'm in a season in my business where I have to shift back to my personal business. And so that's been really humbling. And I don't want to say shift back because I haven't missed Success Club. I'm a 4-time elite coach, but it's been a challenge because there's so many amazing recruiters and personal business builders in this business. So I'm definitely humbled by that challenge right now.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love like starting with the challenge, or not a challenge group, but just the programs, getting results. And seriously, you have helped mold so many amazing, incredible coaches in this network. So, okay, guys, I'll let you guys start with questions. I have a ton too, but I'll let you guys get going. Danny, it looks like you have one. No? Okay. Go ahead. Anybody?
I'll go. Can you hear me? Okay. So thanks so much, Chelsea, for taking the time. You and Rob have definitely been leaders in the network that I looked up to as well, and shared a lot of the resources and videos and stories that you guys have shared with my team. I would like to know, in this season that you're in, what is the most effective way that you are recruiting new coaches? Is that in challenge groups? Is that through your stories? What does that look like?
Sure. So thank you for that question. And thank you for saying that. So I am a small recruiter. I bring on 5 to 6 coaches a month. And sometimes they end up being discount coaches, and sometimes they end up being business builders. I know that that is not a number that that I started off with, but it's what I can speak to right now, because the way that I recruited back when I was recruiting really, really hard, you could hashtag fitness, and there weren't as many people looking for fitness, but it would actually show up. So for me, it's almost exclusively Instagram. The way that I treat social media, I have built an almost exclusively cold market business. I prefer to not work with people that I know. I feel like it just doesn't work for me, and I want to not protect those relationships, but be very soft with those relationships. And because of that, I can't coach the way that I want to coach. So the way that I view social media is Instagram is a place for me to meet people. And then once they're in my challenge group or my life in any form, then they come into my Facebook. And so for me, it's been exclusively Instagram stories, polls, and then building the credibility of posting for the last 7 years and not quitting, and having people see me at every single event, every single doing every single program. And I know that that's a sort of a common thing that many people say. So to get more specific, I recruit out of my challenge group, and I can share more about my challenge group. I love my challenge group, and I haven't been able to say that for about 3 years. And so typically what I require is that all my coaches go through at least 30 days of that, because I don't want to explain what a challenge group is. And if they don't want to do this and they can't show up for themselves for 7 days in terms of their workouts, there's no way that they're going to fill a business activity tracker out. And so it's one-on-one conversations, and I personally don't do reach outs as much as not implying that those are not authentic, but I'm having individual conversations, and I have a running list of people that I'm talking to who it typically starts out that they're just talking about my shirt or my house or my link for something, and then that's when I start to ask them if they're interested in fitness or not. So it's really organic, it's slower to grow, but it's what I feel like I can handle emotionally. And I'm sure my goal is to, by the end of this year, be recruiting more toward the 10 to 20 range, but that's where I'm at right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned that you love your challenge group right now. I would love to hear what you're doing in it that's made you fall in love with it, because I feel like I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I need to do something new to freshen it up, because it kind of just seems kind of blah right now.
Yes. So I can actually share with you guys the recording, and I think is it okay if I share my screen just so I can show you guys specifics?
Yes, of course.
Cool. So this was like a really humbling thing for me. And I think especially seeing Ashley Molstad for the past, I think 2 years, be recognized for the number of people that submitted results in the Beachbody Challenge. And I know that I've helped countless coaches see success, but like I wanted to create this bulletin board of all of my challengers' transformations, and it wasn't black and white like that. I also am the kind of person that wastes a lot of time in administrative stuff, so I wanted to cut that out. I don't want to orchestrate moving people to different groups, so I decided I want to do one group on Facebook. And what I love about this business is what doesn't duplicate about this business, because I was a lone wolf for a while. So I was like, what can I create? It gave me energy to be complicating this. And so I set out to create the most fun, simple, duplicatable challenge group that the only thing that you need to add is showing up and getting results and creating community. And those two things are the things that truly drive our businesses and duplication. So let me see if I can find this. I just did a team call on this. But so essentially what I do, man, I wish I would have pulled this up. Actually, I'll just show you on my Facebook. I haven't been home, so Rob and I didn't get to watch Game of Thrones, so I've been trying to work my business and avoid Facebook without spoilers. So one thing that I have that's really important is I have a newsfeed blocker, but I have one Facebook group called Shred Nation 2019. So this is just for all of my coaches and all of my challengers. And so at any point they can join the group, doing any program that they want. And then if a new program does come out for 1 or 2 rounds, we do it together. And then in between launches, what we do is we just pick a majority program, but everybody is posting in one spot. And many of you guys are probably doing this. You might just need to switch up the energy in which you post. So every single day, it is the exact same, like the caption and the photo is not where the magic is for me. And I've set that expectation. So we just do the date. We say all bod check-ins and nutrition check-ins are encouraged in the comments below. Tell us what you did today. And then from there, what we do is we just drop our check-ins, and it is super organic. Now, before I add somebody to this challenge group, whether they're a personally sponsored coach of mine who wants to stay connected to me on fitness, I don't know if you guys have found that like your best coaches fly out the nest and are running your challenge groups and not working out with you. So I've invited all of my level 1 personally sponsored coaches into this group. And then what I ask them before that I approve them into the group is I say, do you want to be a fly on the wall and just pop in whenever you'd like, or would you like me to check in with you? And if I don't see you post, then I'll give you an accountability tag. And so I have a tracker of every single member in my group. And this is just another little tip for you guys. If you're overwhelmed with like managing your task list on Facebook or when you're working your business, I don't use Facebook shortcuts. Like I don't pin my groups. I use just my browser folder. So I will go into my Facebook group and I will save it as a favorite in a folder. So first things first, I work my business. I click this drop down. I go in my challenge group. I work with my PS coaches who are hitting Success Club, then my PS coaches, and then any extra push groups that I'm doing. And then that's when I go into my team, and I have all of my team pages that I just check once to see if I can contribute or answer questions for my organization. And so this is essentially they get a star if they've showed up, and it's blank if they don't. And so I can see in a very simple way who is showing up. And so this is actually a tip that I got from Amy Rada that I really loved. It's a simple tweak. What she does is she goes into her challenge group first thing as a challenger. And that may not be new news for you guys, but I just felt like I was always in there. So I go in as me and I speak as me, not as a coach. And then later on is when I'll do my tags and I'll go reply and answer any questions that people have. So what I do is I wake up in the morning. Usually we do a morning Zoom, and then I'll go to the previous day. Later on that, well, I'll check in as myself. I'll turn off the commenting. That's been another huge thing. We turn off the commenting of older posts so that nobody gets mixed up. There's only one active check-in post, and then I mark it as the announcement. I do my check-ins, and then later on that day, I'll go through the previous day's post with my phone, and I see who showed up, I see who didn't, and then I'll tag people who haven't shown up for 2 days. This is actually something that my assistant does now, and many people like to be a fly on the wall, and many people love accountability. It is not cut and dry, so I always ask, I never require, and I never guess. And then from there, what we do is anybody that has had 7 full days of check-ins, they get shouted out on Monday, because we're trying to bring in the recognition culture of coaching. And so we have a 7-star challenger every single week who showed up, and all their check-in needs to be is, hey, today was a horrible day, or hey, it was an awesome day, here's proof. So it's not about perfection. So we shout out all the people who had a perfect week, and then we raffle off one $25 Amazon gift card each week to incentivize new people to stay accountable. This is especially helpful in something that I post and share about, or I message my new challengers who use the financial objection. I say, all right, well, you could win this gift card every single week. Not only could you, eventually someday make your money back as a coach, but if they're not the kind of person that wants to coach, they have skin in the game to show up every single day, even if it's flawed, and then maybe help out their house by having an Amazon gift card with groceries or with things that they would need to buy anyway. Now, the coaching part that really has been cool for me is the expectation that I set is this is what we do. We show up, we do our best, and we support each other. And so sometimes I'll throw in like little things as the energy is needed, but it is bare bones. So that's something that is so simple to duplicate. All the graphics that I use, I love creating, but I use Beachbody's Facebook page photos section, like their like page. I use all Beachbody assets so that nobody has the excuse that they can't create it. Saves me time and energy. And then when I am messaging those coaches who aren't showing up, it's really cool because let's just say, for example, I have a new coach in that group, and she's like, I really need help with Instagram recruiting. This isn't working. That isn't working. And I'll say to her, well, let's just stop for a second. I haven't seen you check in for 7 days in our challenge group. Let's start there. And so it's not extra work for me. It really is a simple tweak of accountability. And then all of a sudden they get the energy again that's going to attract people. So it's one tracking system. Then when people have really great questions, like how do I access BOD when I am camping in the middle of the woods, or I'm really struggling with weighing myself or with getting water in, I set the expectation there is no extra content in this group except for community and doing it together. But as these awesome questions come up, what I do is I create a post that answers this question once, and then I add it to a unit. So the Facebook group is now a social learning group. And so as the need arises versus trying to create all this content in advance, I will answer their question once in an in-depth way. And then once that question arises again, I have this entire database as we continue to grow that I can tag my new challengers and coaches in so that I don't have to answer the same questions or give them a watered down answer if I was repeating myself over and over again.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for showing that. And I just have one more question. For the tracker, do you like start it over each month, or is it just like continuous for the whole year?
So I do every single month, just because it gets a little bit messy to have all of that. So I'll just copy the document, I'll modify the dates a little bit, and then I save them because, listen, I'm not like in Google Drive reflecting on every single month or like going back to see data, but it is really helpful when a coach says she wants to quit and then I look at the previous month and she didn't show up. I mean, there's so much more to this business, as we all know, that impacts a coach's success, but the cornerstone is if you're working out and if you're showing up, and maybe just the consistency aspect of posting in a group. You can't coach somebody. You can't run your own challenge group if you're not showing up. So I can call back that data really easily by sorting it by month, and we can have an honest conversation that way.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I have a question, Sydney. Thank you so much, Chelsea. So a few more questions I have regarding the challenge group is, so it's ongoing. Do you have like a specific start date for your new challengers each month? And then my second question is, do you do any sort of like making sure they're on HD for anything, or just lead by example?
Great question. By the way, Danny, I love following you. I just think you're awesome on Instagram. Those are two great questions that I've battled with and asked myself. So the HD question, I require a challenge pack sale to get in the door. And so that has really helped me with the financial objection and Success Club, quite frankly. And it's a technique that because we teach our team to build depth and to build multiple business centers. And so I don't want anybody relying on commissions and spending their energy making sure that people are on reoccurring HD. We have amazing reporting tools, but there's just better ways to spend your energy. So what I'll say is, invest in it once. You can cancel it the next day. I will give them the cancellation link for their HD before they buy the challenge pack in complete transparency. And I'll say, you're not going to get this stack or this bag of Shakeology for $60 any other way. Get packets. You can, make it last. But this sounds so woo woo, but I decide who's in my group based on their energy, because I've had people who, I hear stories of, I remember Angie Belmar had like a burned copy of Insanity. I didn't buy Shakeology. I was an inactive coach for 7 months before the challenge pack was invented. And then I bought the Insanity challenge pack and tried Shakeology for the first time. So I know that if my coach was running a challenge group, the person I am would be like showing up and helping and commenting. So they get in by energy. And if there's complaining or negativity, I remove them and I'll let them know. But that is how they get in the door. And then what was your first question?
If there's like a start date or if everybody just starts on their own.
That's a great question. So I tend to do really well with one-on-one recruiting, one-on-one inviting. It's typically not even from, like, I will do a poll and say, guys, I'm so excited about this program. Do you want more info? And it will take me 3 to 4 weeks before I actually close those conversations. So even when I'm doing public call to actions with deadlines, it takes my prospects about 4 weeks to 3 months to finally even respond to me what flavor that they want. Don't know why that is. I don't know if it's only me. So what I do is, I'm doing every single program that comes out for the rest of time. That's just what we do. And so when it comes to a new program, we will have the same start date. The same thing for 21-day fixed real-time relaunches. But typically what happens for me is, as challengers come in, they say, I've been watching you, I want to get started. I will orient them into the group and but we just start with check-ins. So I say, pick your program. Typically, like, let's just say a month from now or 2 weeks from now or, 3 months from now, I'll say this new program's coming out. So in July, we're doing this. In the meantime, let's pick a program that's right for you. And then I'll also say, like, the majority of the group is doing this. And I've found that because I am tracking just their check-ins, it's not as complicated if they're on their own track. Because before, I felt like I was managing a million different people. I probably should have like a running list of what people are doing, but I try not to micromanage too much. And so my goal is just to get them drinking the product, using the product, and then getting consistent and getting comfortable with even just showing up and talking to people. And then by the time that next product lunch starts, I find that my most effective challengers are the people who got in a month before or 3 months before. And then they finally say, oh, okay, I get this. We're all doing this program. I've been watching the 75% of the group do the same program and have this extra energy and connection. I can't miss this. And then that's when I typically sell more completion packs than getting people started right off the gate. I find that they're not engaged. And you know what's cool, guys? Like this, I'm so excited because I'm going to have all of my customers and coaches in one place. And like, if somebody bought Energize once, they get in the group. If somebody buys BOD, well, I make an exception. It's dependent on energy. If somebody, I did say that that they get in with a challenge pack, but if somebody is really incredible and I want them around me, I will make an exception. I'm the boss. You guys are the boss. And so what's cool is that I'd have to blast my list by saying, hey guys, this new program's coming out. And I'm so excited for the ease of that versus having to do a mailing list or like individually message people. It is just one and done. Also, I don't know if I didn't mention this, but my group settings are set so that only I can post. So all of the comments are where the engagement is. And I treat my Facebook group like a message board thread now more than an ongoing place where everyone can post.
Okay, I'm going to talk again. So one last question, because I keep going back and forth between Facebook and my challenge tracker. Is there a way you found to make your Facebook group like it just seems like no one sees when I post in my, big group, because I did have an ongoing one, but I don't know if there's like, do you have them set it to where it pops up or?
So I think the thing that's been really helpful, and I can probably do better at early steps at communicating how they can bookmark it better, how they can turn off notifications of other groups. I love the My Challenge Tracker app. I have not gotten the results for my challengers that I would like using it. So I am torn, and I have to tell you, the superstar mastermind that we have, this exact conversation happens at every level. And I love that. I love seeing people that I think like I shake in my boots on that Zoom. And there are people who I would think didn't have these same questions. The same questions are at every single level. And in fact, my success partner, Brittany Leggett, she's been trying to run both at the same time, where she tracks people on the app, and then the Facebook group is more of a community page. I think, she's been struggling with the division of energy. So for me, I just am trying to make it as easy as possible so the engagement will be higher. And because I'm tagging that, so I tag them for a week. And if I don't hear anything for a week, then I message them. And so that typically gets them back in, and they'll say, hey, I need to take a break. And then that takes that off my shoulders, so I don't have to be having this app running in the background of a challenger that I feel like I'm failing. They say, no, it's not you, it's me. Or we get them back in. So the tags have been really helpful, and the personal messages have been really helpful. But it might just have to be a shift of settings. And I think that's a really powerful thing, is that there has been one tweak that I would get from another coach, or one gut feeling that I had, like, hey, maybe I need to turn off the commenting on this post, or maybe I need to not allow everybody to be scattered everywhere and focus their energy like a laser in just the comment section. Or maybe I just have to be consistent with this for like 2 weeks. And it has dramatically shifted. So it might just be a little tweak like that. So I have it's like a tag cloud. My assistant does it now. I'm in the spreadsheet every single day, but she'll be like, Ashley, Amber, Anna, Becky, Brianna, Bethany. Like she runs through the list. It is a cloud of names of people who said, hey, I would like for you to tag me if I don't show up.
I'm sorry, you asked them that? I'm sorry, I hopped on late. I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
So what's cool is when I started this group, I was adding the members myself. So before I pressed approve, I just said, hey, this is how the group's going to work. We get a daily post every single day. If you show up every single day, imperfect or not, just checking in, you'll get shouted out at the end of the week for being a 7-star challenger, and you'll be entered for a $25 Amazon gift card. Would you like to be a fly on the wall and just do your own thing and check in as you'd like? Or if I don't see you showing up in the comments, would you like me to tag you every single day to keep you accountable? And so based on that, it's a split, and it's not based on fitness level or coach business. It's just preference, because I don't like to guess and I don't like to bother people. So they asked to be tagged. And then if after a week they didn't show up, I send them a message and I say, hey, what's up? Is it life? Are you overwhelmed? Do you want me to stop? And I believe them. I believe what they say. If they're like, you know what, this isn't for me, or hey, I'll be here next week, and then they still don't show up, then I'll send them another message, and then hopefully they'll get the hint. And sometimes that results in people ghosting me or canceling, but we're accountability coaches, and I was really convicted by that last year. And so that's what we do. And I also want to say one more thing. I don't like how that just came out. That's not necessarily what we all do. And I think one of the biggest stresses that I have, and I have had and I beat myself up on, is the absolutes. And so I just want to retract that for a second. If you don't do that, that's okay. I have been saying this recently, the only absolutes in this business are policy and procedures. And I think that I have gotten very overwhelmed at times at hearing all good coaches do this, or if you're a good coach, you need to be doing this. If we were to make a document or a list of all of those vows and those absolutes, I think we'd be paralyzed, that we're getting all of these messages that all good coaches must do these things. And sometimes they conflict, and sometimes they're not right for your people or for you or for the season of life that you're in. And so I just didn't like how I came off when I said that.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
You said that you turn off the commenting. I mean, so they can't post like randomly to their wall. And I do the same thing as you. I have like an open group, and I've gone back and forth between, do I need to be organized and have everything go on one post, or do I just, have you found that it's increasing your engagement, number one, and then two, have you ever tried it the other way? Because I find sometimes people that are super busy, they're just like want to hop onto the group, post, I got it done, here's my selfie. And I actually found more commenting and more engagement when I turned it off, although it's a little bit more unorganized. Does that make sense?
Totally. So
Yeah.
I ran an ongoing like group. I had additional start and stop challenge groups every month last year. And then I had one ongoing group with all of my challengers that was free reign. And it was weird for me because it was the same people kind of posting, and no offense, but we have a brand aesthetic. And sometimes I was like, wow, the whole timeline is like this one person's really blurry photos or something. So I want to see that. I just don't want that to be representative of the community necessarily. And so it wasn't working for me, but I do know it works for other people. The one other thing I'd like to share with you guys in the group is when there is a need, I create an additional post. So like you guys can see my daily check-ins. I pull from Autumn's feed. Okay, this is a perfect example. I was like, where are they going to submit their transformation photos? Like, I don't want to have 50 emails going out every single week. And so I created one post. I also very intentionally use word swag. I keep it very simple. So they go, oh, that's an awesome graphic. How do I do it? And I don't tell them, hey, I love doing this. I did it on Canva. I had to kind of, for me personally, take one for the team and stop doing what I love so that I can make it duplicatable. So I made this word swag, transformations before and afters, progress, photos, and proof of what's possible. And so the caption says, have you finished a program? Are you checking in weekly, mid-program? Are you reflecting on your whole journey? This is the place to drop in the comments how far you've come, and to be somebody else's motivation. And so at any point, they can start to share their transformation photos in one place. And I have found after 7 years of doing this, I'm like, I've had so many more transformation photos that new people don't see or get lost in the timeline. So I really like this because if I'm thinking I'm just going to rename this group to Shred Nation 2020. And then my new challengers can see all of the other people who have come before. I have everybody in one place. And then if somebody is saying in the comments, oh my gosh, I just weighed myself, I lost 4.5 pounds or whatever, that I will tag them in that photo. And I'll say, hey, could you share this here? And so I do a lot of that, like redirecting them. And then I'll delete my comment that tags them so that it doesn't look like I'm just tagging them all the time. I did something similar with a welcome. It was like a month and a half in. I was like, I should probably have a welcome post. And so this has a list of like conversation starters. And so when somebody joins the group, I just tag them in here. And then again, I will delete my tag once they comment so that it looks more organic. And I did this with this post. I didn't do it with a transformation photo post yet, but because there's social learning units, I pinned the welcome post right here. And so I probably should pin the transformation. I'll have a transformation section. But I'm not creating this photo, or I'm not creating this content before I take action, because I would get so stuck and I'd be at Success Club 2 after creating all this awesome stuff. And I realized that these challengers are going to point me to the content that I need to create first as they ask questions or as it comes up. And I'd like to show you guys another example of like when I had said somebody had no Wi-Fi. So I screenshot my BOD app. I used Canva for this arrow and then word swag. And I shared with them one time in a really thorough, beautiful, accurate way how to download their workouts. And so what I should do after I get a phone call is create a section of, like BOD hacks or like little things as they come up. And then what's really cool is that when my coaches have those questions, they're in my challenge group, and they're going to be duplicating this with their teams, and they can just pull all my content, and they don't have to create it themselves. And then if their coaches have a question that they don't know how to answer, I can answer it in here. And then just like we duplicate in business, I would duplicate this way. And so Danny asked if they have questions, do you have a weekly specific post? I don't, and only because I have found I set lower expectations and then exceed them versus saying every single Tuesday I do this. Just as it comes up, I'll say, oh, this is an awesome question, and I'll post it in the timeline, and then people will respond, and then I'll pin it into the units. So this really would stress me out. Challenge groups stress me out. And I would go back and forth from this pendulum of, I know how to help new coaches, but my challenge groups aren't awesome. And then I would spend all this time to work on my challenge groups. And then I go, but I got to improve my new coach process. And after a few years, I realized like, that's just what we do. We get better at both all the time, and the network gets better. And it's just that back and forth pendulum.
I have a question. So I'm obsessed with the Enneagram, and it's like changed my life the past 6 to 8 months, and I saw that you were talking about it too. So what has helped you most? I know everyone's number is different, but what was your biggest takeaway, and like how have you been using that to protect your energy? And just, I feel like that could be a loaded question, but share.
Cool. I've been familiar with my Enneagram for about 2 years now. And I'm so happy that it's catching so much momentum, because it is, I've done Myers-Briggs, I've done discs, I've done colors. This to me is the most dynamic. And it also allows you to check in with yourself to see how you're doing. And then also to see yourself very clearly as the best things about you or the worst things about you. So it took me a few months. I thought I was a 7 at first, because a 7 is like an enthusiast and somebody who's just always wants to, they're really passionate about so many things. And it took me some time to realize I'm actually a 6, which is the skeptic. Also the loyalist. So that's why I'm here 7 years later. And I feel like I'm really great at bringing people together and being a devil's advocate, but I'm very motivated by fear and anxiety and skepticism. And so I look back at the beginning of my journey, and like any objection I can handle, because I had every single objection. So if you have any 6s on your team, like the first year of my business was deep diving into policy and procedure. What is a pyramid scheme? History of the FTC shutting down, like almost like conspiracy theorists. But once you realize there are no holes, you're like, I got this. Okay, let's go. And that's where the skeptic becomes the loyalist. What I recommend, if you would like specific tactical tips on personal growth for your number, there is a book called The Wisdom of the Enneagram. And I believe it's by Riso and Hudson. It is like a textbook. So essentially you would open it up, and you'd find your type, and you would see what your type does. There's types within types, and then there's wings of each type. But it will tell you it'll tell you your areas to grow on. It will tell you personal development specific for you. And so that really helped, because it was like, stop reading Girl Wash Your Face and start figuring out why you have crippling anxiety, Chelsea. And it was the harder work. It was the less fun stuff to post about, but that I have grown and changed because of it. There is another book that reads more and listens more on Audible. I highly recommend it on Audible, like a modern story of the Enneagram, and that's called The Road Back to You. And that is an orange cover. There is actually another book, like a spinoff, called The Path Back to You, that has to do with once the road back to you helps you figure out you, and then the path back to you, I think it's called, helps you connect with other people in relation. And that changed everything for me in my marriage, with my peers, with my coaches, with my leaders, with my troublemakers on my team who suck the life out of me. And I just think it's an awareness that we have. Ultimately, it's a core fear thing. Like, my core fear is that I'm not safe. And not to get too deep about it, but we're all motivated to stay to avoid our biggest fears and to go toward the things that affirm us and that place in us that is kind of like an empty hole. And something that's really also cool about once you figure out your type is not only are there 9 types, but then there's 9 levels of development in each type. And so if you're at a level 1, it's really bad. It's on the brink of suicide, anxious, abusing drugs, hurting people. Like it is your personality at its absolute rock bottom. And then 9 is your highest level of development. It's what your personality looks like when you're doing it the right way, like transcendence. And what's cool about that is there's the healthy, there's the average, and there's the unhealthy ranges. And so what I like to do just personally with the Enneagram is check in with myself. And I use that as a sliding scale. I'm like, which one of these descriptions, because there are a few sentences for each level within your type. There's just a few, you read the few sentences and you're like, whoa, that's where I am. And so you can kind of catch yourself before you get too stressed or you get too whatever. And that was a long answer. Did I answer your question?
No, it was perfect. And when I first started it, it was like, I wasn't even looking at it as healthy to unhealthy. I like looked at it because I'm a 3, which is the achiever and like, yeah, very success driven. And it was like scary at first. Like I kind of was like, wait, I don't want to be a 3 because of all these things. But once you look at it as healthy to unhealthy, it makes a lot more sense. I have one more question and just throwing it separate from that, but what's your simple duplicatable system for your new coaches? Like I loved your challenge group guide and stuff. What have you implemented with coaches? Because you have such a great depth in your downline. What have you found to be helpful for that?
Thank you. So it's funny because what worked then is not what I do now, but it's also, I don't have to do, I mean, to be quite frank, in the beginning, it was income made me feel more confident. It helped me identify or invite to the opportunity, made me look legit. And so we ran everything all levels. I didn't have necessarily strong leadership yet on my team at that point. And so I wasn't stepping on toes. This is really hard for me now because like Jamie Innes is one of my coaches. Jess Dukes is one of my coaches. They don't need me like at all. And so like giant sections of your organization, you just don't touch anymore. Where in the beginning, I was like, run the report, invite everybody, send the email to everybody. So I can't necessarily do that now. But then what I did was every single piece of information that worked for me, I am an oversharer. I get angry at other people for not sharing their paper because everything that works for me, I share in my team pages. So I just made sure that there was a group for all of my coaches and discount coaches back then in the organization so that even if a coach walked away, that there was still like a challenge group feel for everybody, and that has its own problems. And then I had a business builders page for people who said they wanted to work the business. And as the organization grew, now there is an organization-wide page for coaches, for emeralds, for diamonds, for 2 stars, for 5 stars. And that just happened as needed. But everything that's working for me, I shared with everybody. Another thing that was really helpful, I know this is kind of not on the topic of new coaches, but we ran this group like for 3 years, and almost all of our elite coaches or like earning coaches went through this group, and we called it Legendary Leadership because they both start with L, but we used John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And we didn't use the book. We used the workbook. There's like an Amazon workbook. And so what we would do, I guess this is kind of a side note. So I want to make sure I answer your question. Do you mean like how to get them quick wins, Emerald Success Club, or get them income, like long-term success?
Both, if you can share. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I guess so for first conversation that I have a GSR with every single coach I can because I recruit low numbers. the first thing that I ask them is, what are you excited about? Then I ask them, what does success look like to you? And if right away they're like, I'm excited about being a challenge group and success looks like results, I don't go further with them in this business unless I'm like, you're amazing, you really should try this. Have you considered the business part? And so I get their definition of success, and then I help them get success. And so I have found that even if that's not success starters, even if that is not making them their money back in the first few months, if they can set a goal and then reach it and have their needs met, that is the recipe for me for long term. They're going to go, I set this goal and it was to read a book and show up. And even though that doesn't get me elite points in certain categories, it means they're going to be here 6 months from now and a year from now. And when it comes to my business, it sucks, but my coaches, they hit diamond 2 years in. They are not a 30-day or a 60-day or a 90-day. I can get better. My process is not perfect, but the trend is 2 years into their business, they hit diamond, and then they don't leave. They're 1 stars, 2 stars, 5 stars, 15 stars. And so it's kind of a trade-off in that way. So that's kind of like my getting started process. I ask them what they want, and then I meet that need. Then for Emerald, we don't do push groups for Emerald. I kind of want to start doing like a Emerald call every single month, but our system right now is a back and forth Facebook message. Let me see if I can pull this up and share this link with you guys. Yes, I've got it. Okay. This is the longest bit.ly. It's so annoying. So this is a back and forth, what's it called? Facebook message that I open for every single one of my new coaches who say that their definition of success is income, coaching, leading, doing what I do, running challenge groups. Then we go, okay, cool. I open up a Facebook group with me and Rob because we work together, but you could do it just with you. And I rename it. What do I call it? I think I just call it new coach in caps. Like you can name a conversation. I name all of my business conversations. So I'll name it new coach and then hyphen and then their name. And then in my Facebook Messenger, I can actually sort. So then I'll just type in new coach and then it shows me the list of all my new coaches. And it's so awesome. And so from there, this is actually something that we tested it out and it worked for this one girl. So we were like, hey, do we have permission to use our conversation as a blueprint, and let's do it again. And we were scrambling for Elite last year because of a bunch of different reasons. And so every single Emerald, every single Success Club coach counted. And I think we built 12 or 14 Emeralds in like 6 months and not recruiting 100 people. It was like a 75% success rate or 80. It was unbelievable. And so this is a little bit different. Like if this isn't your guys' style, this might be stressful because you're like, I don't want them in my inbox. But for me, what stresses me out is having a coach say, I struggle with this. And then I give them an answer and then they don't do anything with it. And then next week they go, I struggle with this. And it's like, whoa, you don't get to struggle with that until you don't show up in your challenge group and you do your workout. Like this is a building process. And so what we start off with, you guys can go to our team page. The first step is our start here page. It's just a welcome email in a website form so our entire team can access it and they don't have to email stuff out. So that's duplication right there. And so let's just say she doesn't get through the welcome email. And she goes, oh, I have this other question about that. I go, cool, I can't wait to answer that once you finish step 1. And I redirect her because you can get lost in all of the things to do. Next, after the start here steps, I just acquaint her with EFT and all the different share cart tools. I have them make their list. And I intentionally use a YouTube video from another coach because if they only see my face, then they think I can't use that system. I have to record my own video. So from the gate, I'm using someone else's resources. And so this is Jimmy Nelson. If you guys have ever done Insanity or he's a superstar diamond leader, he takes them through a 13-minute build your list and he helps you jog your memory. Then from there, once they have their list, I can't help you invite. I'm struggling with my business. Okay, Where's your list? Let's go through it. I will go through with my new coaches conversation by conversation. The reason I'm willing to do that is because most aren't willing to do the first steps. And so this is accountability. From there, once they give that me a picture or a link of their list, then we share, it's linked in here. It's called Warm Market Posture. And it's a 5-minute podcast by a network marketing coach named Ray Higdon. And he talks about how to handle no, how to handle rejection, how to handle radio silence, how to deal with warm market. And you have to be soft, and you have to be like, shrug your shoulders, brush your shoulders off. So right away, we're saying you're going to get no, and it's cool. You're going to get radio silence, and it's cool. And they're like, oh, I was so worried about that. Awesome. Now I can move forward. And then from there is a video that Rob recorded with a really bad haircut. I don't mean to pick on him. It's just so awkward that this is what we use. We have to re-record it. About going emerald in 24 hours. And so the purpose of this is to get them emerald right away and get them Success Club right away. So I really hold my coaches' hands through this process. The reason I hold their hands is so that I know where they're at, and it's copy and paste for me. So I'll add like a little personal message. It's not just robotic copy and paste, but they can't get to the higher levels to take more of my time. That doesn't actually go anywhere until they do the work, and they're bite-sized pieces. And so what I found is that my Star Diamond coaches this year, my Diamond coach or downline Diamond coaches this year use this process, and it really weeds out the people who are going to do the work and who aren't.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful.
You're welcome.
This has been so good. Okay, guys, we have about time for one more question. Anything else?
I have a really short one if no one else has one. I just feel bad because I've already gone. Okay, so in terms of branding, do your coaches and customers ever get confused because everything's Shred Nation? Because I kind of like how you have it all Shred Nation. Because like my Fit Club is named one thing, and then like my team page another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do they get confused or?
So Rob and I used to run separate teams. I got him and his roommate named our team Shred Nation. It was actually a YouTube channel that they had. It's a cooking show, and they are guitar players and they ski. And so they're like, Shred, yeah. And it was like black and red, and it was not like Girl Boss glitter. And so I really struggled with the attraction marketing part because I'm like, this isn't me. And so we ended up like splitting our brands, and I had a team called Fit Girls Next Door for a while. It was so confusing. It was so extra. Everybody was worried about brands, and we weren't making money or helping people or hitting Success Club or hitting Elite. And so what we decided to do was, for that reason, streamline everything. And also streamline our brand, so it was more inclusive and more attractive. And I have felt that way, so that's why my challenge group is such a simple name. I just in the very beginning say our team and our community is called Shred Nation. And what I've found is that I thought the branding would be more important, and it's not as important. Like your branding is important, but when I sacrificed the thing that I thought was this storefront aesthetic that would get people in, it wasn't as effective as having something that was clear and made sense, because there's so much confusion. And then my downline team, I mean, there's not everybody joins the groups anymore. And so we say that it's our entire organization, all levels down, is the Shred Nation organization. And then we will distinguish other groups by saying like Rob and Chelsea's personally sponsored coaches. This is kind of like the challenge group that I have is the only thing that's named the same thing as all my organization stuff. So I just find I like to make things complicated, and the more simple it is, the better results I get and the better results that other people get.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chelsea, seriously, thank you so much. I love the fact that you just said we are accountability coaches. Like through every part, you're going from your challenge groups to your onboarding system to holding your coaches accountable with their journey. It's all we are accountability coaches, and you show that at every level. So I really appreciate your time with us. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you, Chelsea. Bye-bye.